Next up is, yeah, we have that connected, but how can we make use of MongoDB setup? After MongoDB was set up, we need to create things called models. And creating models is very easy. We'll just have a simple folder that will hold our models for our application. So say a folder called models, and these models will contain things that are very similar to schemas. So first I want to create a simple model for my application, but I will use TypeScript. So in here I want to have a user model, and this user model will just have very basic schema. So I want to import a few things from Mongoose, and these few things include something called the schema. I want to also import a model, and then I also want to import a document. So in there, now that we import this, I want to just set up a very simple way. I want to have a interface to describe my current user. So I will set this is of type iUser, and I will just want it to have a simple property of type string, and email. Sorry, I want it to be an interface. Currently this is not available for JavaScript, pure JavaScript users, so beware. It's just a simple interface. It's gonna be cleaned up at runtime, so this one is not gonna emit it. So we see we have interface here. Email is also of type string. So, and also we have password is also of type string. Sorry. And that will be able to set up a simple another interface called the iUser document. What the iUser document interface will do is that it will extend some methods on Mongoose from Mongoose that are given by default, and some other things, so that we'll be able to set up good IntelliSense for our app models. So in here I will just export another interface which we might not be using outside of here, but it would be good to export it. So I'll call it the iUser document. So this will represent an instance of our document and will extend like the document model, like it's like contains some methods and some other things, and it will also extend from iUser, but we will not have some separate things right here. The reason for this also is that when this extends from here, if we have some methods that are available on the instance of these models, we can simply give them the interface here, but currently we have none, so we're just gonna leave it empty. So next up is we'll define our schema. So I'll call this the user schema, and it will be set to a new instance of a schema, which is a Mongoose schema. This one is schemaless, so our database, when this is going to be requested, it's going to be automatically created for us in our database. So I'll say that our name, we know that it's of type string, and then we have our email, which is be of, we can give it a configuration object and say that it's of type, and then set the string. So instead of just giving the type there directly there, we can just set it like this. And then I want emails to be unique, and I will set that to true. And then next up is I will set password. It will be a string, just a string. I don't really care if it's required or not. And lastly, we'll export our model, and we're exporting a simple model that we'll be creating on the fly, which is called the user model, and it will be from model like this, and we'll tell it that it's of type iUser document using TypeScript here. So we'll later see the benefits of this later, that we're doing like this instead of just using the pure JavaScript way. So now that we pass in our schema and we set up a model and exported it, we can then import it in our routes or any other place that we will need to create something here. So in here we can say I want to import my, currently I want to import like the user model from our users models folder. So I'm gonna just say import using ES6 imports here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and declare where it is first. So user, and then I can come back here and say like, what do I have here? I have things exported here, and you see the good intelligence telling me what I've exported from that file. You can see that we have a user been imported, and now in here we can simply do something like user.create, but in here I will just create a simple one, like whatever our request.body has, we'll pass that to it. So I'm gonna say like create an object here on the fly and say like name is equals to rec.body.name, and then next we have email is equals to rec.body.email, which is pretty a lot to type on. Password, and this create method takes a callback. So you can see it takes a callback, and this callback takes an error. First callback takes an error and takes the created. The next one is like the created object. Let's say created user. We can give it any name we want. And if there is an error, we'll tell it that hey, if there's an error, please can you send me back this error. So we're gonna say something like this. So in here I can say res, but instead I'll set a status here. Anytime I'm sending an error, I want it to go with an error 401 if there's a problem. So I can just send something like this error, you know. And then later on here, if there was no problem, so in here I'll return. I'm returning because I want to end the control flow there and let it not reach down here. So if there was no error, you can just simply send me back the created user. So I'm just gonna say res.send created user, which will automatically call the to JSON on this created user and send it. It will also set the default status to 200. So we have that been set, but remember we have two multiple sent here, which is not a good thing to do. We only want the ones in the handlers there to so we have that's called upon, and then now we can restart our server and see if there's any problem. There's currently no problem, and now we can try to do a simple sign up and see what we get. Aha, now we have something up and running. So in here now we see that we have it being created, and you have something like an object ID. If you have something called RoboMongo to explore your database, it's very good and nice. It's currently I have it set up, and we can see that it created automatically this DB. And if we come here, we can simply, not the feeds at DB, I'm sorry, we're talking about the simple app DB here, which currently automatically created our users. And one of the users being created here, you can see that it has something called the object ID, which is automatically created of it's like kind of the primary key, just like in SQL. So all of this been set up. Now we have a simple ID set up, and you know we can see that it's created. But let me drop this, remove all the documents in here. Yeah, we have that been created. Yeah, we have it, but we want to do more, because yeah, right now we have been able to sign up and set up a simple database. We can easily from here, say in the sign in, we can get it and compare the passwords, and also in the me we can return the current user that is being authenticated. Later on now we'll do more to justify all of this and put more and more into our current REST application.